Hi, good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Okay, enjoying it here so far? Fantastic. Okay. Well, I'm Andy Brown. This is my wife, Fran. And we are full-time legal residents here in Costa Rica. We've been here now almost 3 years. And we're here right now basically to go ahead and tell you our story. But first off, I'd like to excuse or make a little apology for the way we're dressed. When we moved here about 3 years ago, one of the first things we did was we got rid of all the clothes that had anything to do with a professional business life. And the suits are gone, the ties, the dresses, the pantsuits, the shoes that have soles on them, and we just got rid of all of them. And the stuff that we didn't get rid of, we can't fit into anymore because we've kind of slimmed down a little bit more than we were 3 years ago. So things are working out really for the best so far. Let's see, I've just got a bunch of notes that I want to go by, and because I really don't like reading PowerPoint slides. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I stay on track. The most important thing, though, is that we are going to talk only for about 30 minutes because there's something very important that takes place after that, and that's going to be the happy hour. So I want everybody to make sure that they're geared up for that. I'd like to tell you our story, and we want to tell you about who we are, why we're doing what we're doing, where we're doing it, how we're doing it, and what the future is going to bring for us. Okay, as I said earlier, we are Andy and Fran Brown. We are from Charlotte, North Carolina. We've been married 38 years, and we've been full-time professionals for the better part of our lives. Pretty much working in corporate America throughout that entire period of time. We have raised 2 sons who so far are fully employed, and they're enjoying lives back in their home.
Do not live with us.
They're doing well, and they've even given us two grandkids to be happy about. But during that time, we've bought and sold 7 homes. We've lived in 6 different states. We have paid our taxes. We have paid our dues. We've done everything the right way, everything that we're supposed to be doing. But then all of a sudden, the economy takes a downturn and kicks us square in the butt. And we're pretty much left holding the bag. We really didn't know what was going to happen. And the recession hit early in 2008. Everything's starting to take a dump. The 401ks are taking massive hits, and everything that we have been working for and trying to promote in our lives had taken a pretty serious hit. So, right now it was pretty obvious that the recession had done its thing and had taken its toll on us.
Now, Andy makes it sound like we did everything right in our lives. We never spent too much money. We never dug into the home equity line. We did everything we were supposed to do. Well, that's not true at all. Just like you guys, that is not true at all. And I could remember, the most recent thing I can remember that we did wrong, which was totally my fault, is I went to a new hair place. And while I'm at the hair place, the lady asked me if I could just fill out a little questionnaire about myself. Well, the bad thing is I had just turned 50, and now I'm hitting the bubble on the other side. The bubble that went from 40, up to 49, now it's 50 to 60. And I'm like, oh my God, I am so depressed. I got into the midlife crisis right there. So I came home, and those home equity checks were just sitting there, laying on the counter. And I thought, we haven't used these in a while. I'm depressed. I think I'm just going to go buy that damn 350Z Roadster. So I did. Now, I looked great in that Roadster, but that was not a wise thing for us to do. So when he gets up here and touts how perfect we were, I will set him straight right away.
If for nothing else, after 38 years, I've learned that we really complement each other quite nicely. When I start to go off on one tangent, Fran kind of reels me in. So you're gonna be seeing and hearing a lot of that today, and probably for the next couple of days. Quick description: my job that I had back in North Carolina was pure hell. For For the last 6 months of my job as a Vice President of Technology for Wachovia Bank, I realized that I lost my department, I lost the people that worked for me, I lost my budget, all my projects were taken away from me. I would show up to work in the morning today at 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning, and have absolutely nothing to do for the entire day. My boss was located in some other part of the city, and I never saw her for, in some cases, weeks on end. So that did not make me feel good as a professional. It got to a point where I did have a meeting with my boss one time, and I said, you know what, it's time that we really come to terms. Things are not good for us. And it doesn't look good, especially for you, my boss, that you're having to manage somebody who has nothing to do and who is kind of looking a bit emaciated amongst his peers. So the nice thing was, I kind of said, I've got a win-win proposition for you. Give me a package. Let me get the hell out of here. Because lower the cost of the department. You don't need somebody else in this company. I'm not doing anything. I'm not adding anything to the bottom line. And bottom line was, I asked for a package, and I got my package, which was really cool. And 2 days later, my boss called me in and said, guess what? Sign here on the dotted line. Don't let the door hit you in the butt, and I'm out of here. So things were really, really working out quite nicely. Not only did I get a 10 months package to go ahead and leave the bank, but I was also eligible to go ahead and cover myself under North Carolina unemployment compensation. So that made things pretty good, and it kind of added an entirely new meaning to the term Pura Vida, because we've always had that in in the back of our minds. Now, here we go. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why did we decide to come here to Costa Rica? Well, first off, we were both unemployed, and we tried to analyze our situation. Fran, being the CFO of the family, she tracked every single expense that we ever had, and I'm not very good at that. My details, I'm really not very detail oriented.
Wait. He's getting off on the story here that we rehearsed earlier. I also got laid off. He got his package. I got canned about 30 days later.
Thank you.
So, but we had a plan. It wasn't like we said, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. I mean, I knew it was going to happen. He was so unhappy. So we kind of got together and started our research and had a plan, and then just said, we're out of here. We're done. Okay, now get back on track. Good.
Okay, so now here we are, unemployed. We are now in crisis management mode. We're trying to figure out what in the heck we're going to do. We called our financial planner. We have our spreadsheet. We knew exactly to the penny what we were spending week after week, month after month. And we called a financial planner, and we said, let's sit down, let's get a picture. What does our war chest look like? After working all of these years, we realized that, number one, we were both, at the time, we were both 58 years old. We were at the top salary end of our careers. Where are we going to go right now with unemployment growing month after month? We were not going to go ahead and find ourselves back into finding ourselves a nice, comfortable path back into the workforce. So we talked with the financial planner, and we started making some strong decisions. We realized at this point that, yes, we were in here for economic survival. The job market was absolutely dismal. There was no chance of us getting back in again. And we started thinking about the fact that, well, what about expat life? Are things greener on the other side? Can we do better offshore? So that's kind of where we were thinking. And the thing that really got to us the most, and you may very well relate to this, is in analyzing all of our expenses and realizing that what we control, what we couldn't control, it was healthcare costs that were going to be the ones that were absolutely driving us down. This one item is going to either make or break our ability to go ahead and survive in the States. Now, we are not sickly people. Where we were 58 years old. We had a little bit of healthcare baggage that we were bringing along with us. But we started putting pencil to paper to figure out just how much this healthcare monster was going to go ahead and cost us. And it didn't take us long that from the age 58 until the age 65, when we can qualify for U.S. Medicare, we were looking at potentially spending over $300,000 out of our pockets. And that's if we didn't get sick. That was just maintaining the status quo, because our health insurance was costing us $1,800 a month. Now, it was great health insurance. Now, that was good. While we were laid off, we had the insurance covering us, but then we went on COBRA. After COBRA was out, after its 18 months, we were still looking at $1,800 a month. Now, when that fell aside, when that COBRA went away, then we can go out and buy private insurance. Well, private insurance was really great, except it won't cover pre-existing conditions. And what it wound up really was getting nothing more than just a very expensive policy, which it was about $1,600 at that point, but it would only cover catastrophic long-term illnesses. It wouldn't be able to cover us on a day-to-day basis. So basically, we saw us spending all of this money for doctor visits, for health insurance premiums, for out-of-pocket copays, and to the tune of coming up to about $300,000 over that next 7-year period. And the bottom line was that would have eaten in very, very deeply into our war chest. We were beginning to realize now that life outside the United States was going to become a very strong possibility. Where to go? We have had the luxury of being able to do a lot of international traveling to Europe, down to, all through Europe, Italy, and most of Western Europe. And we really fell in love with both of those areas. We would have loved to have retired to England. We would have loved to retire to Tuscany. But all of a sudden, we kind of realized that the war chest that we knew wasn't going to last in the United States more than 7 to 10 years was now going to become depleted in about 6 to 7 years if we moved to Europe. So that kind of ruled out that situation real quick. We did love Italy, but that was still in the back of our minds. But bottom line, Italy was way, way, way too much money.
And plus, that wouldn't help our budget because Andy drinks quite a bit.
I like wine. Okay, give me a break. So with Europe pretty much on the skids, we decided that perhaps Latin America would be good for us. Now, we were both born and raised in South Florida. We grew up in Miami. We were familiar with the Latin climate, and we decided to go ahead and look at where the opportunities are in this particular area. Now, we quickly ruled out certain countries. We ruled out places like
something happened here.
Something happened. Technical man. And we're back at the beginning. Okay, that's cool. I'll get it, sir.
Guess you fat fingered this one.
We didn't touch it.
You don't think so?
Here we go.
Okay.
We are getting back on track. On one more.
One more.
Got it. Okay.
You have the map.
Maps. Here we go. Here. This is going to be eating into our bar time, I know. Okay, here we go.
Well, let's just go to the end and be done.
You can ask us questions in the bar. Okay. Our decisions were really pretty simple. We figured we had our best shot of moving south of the border. So we looked at Mexico. We looked at who else do we have on here? Gosh, Venezuela, Nicaragua. We looked at all of these different countries, but for lots of personal reasons and sound reasons that we thought were quite logical to us, we nixed those countries as potential places to move. We also looked at Brazil and Argentina as a possibility. We did a modicum of research on both of those countries. But then again, when I started looking at the geography associated with it and our family and friends who would like to come to visit, those countries started to become a little bit more distant for us to go ahead and make any kind of a a major life change to go ahead and move there. We looked at one time about Belize, and Belize has gotten some really, really great press. And I love to fish. I love to go snorkeling, but I couldn't picture myself 2 months in Belize of having fished my brains out and snorkeled like crazy. Of what else is there to do? Roger pointed out.
Drink.
Roger pointed out earlier, a few minutes ago, about the diversity of Costa Rica, and that's really what drove home to us, that this country offered us so much by way of diverse environments, that it really made the decision for us quite simple. So yes, we did choose Costa Rica, and we are so darn happy that we did. Now I'm kind of getting into preaching mode, I think, a little bit, but when you decide to go ahead and move overseas, the first and foremost thing that you're going to need to do is just absolutely, positively do your research. You've got so many resources to go ahead from which to choose, and the internet probably is probably going to be your first and foremost thing tool in making your decision. But understand one thing. It didn't take us too terribly long to realize that after looking at all of the beautifully designed and highly informative websites that were out there, all those things that we were looking at were all designed to sell us on Costa Rica. I mean, this was absolutely the most perfect, beautiful place in the world. And hey, you can live cheap. There's no taxes, perfect weather. Costa Rica was the ecological leaders of the country. But the bottom line is, a lot of the stuff that we read online was a lot of marketing hype. And while there was all of it was all based on truth, there was all of that stuff in there was just tempered a little bit. So you've really got to trust but verify. You've got to read through and read between the lines of what you're seeing out there, because most of it is relatively valid information, but it's something that you need to go ahead and do some very strong interpretation on. You need to be able to separate fact from fiction and sales pitch from reality. That is so very important. And when you're talking to all these folks, when you're talking to us, we're going to give you the straight scoop. We're going to tell you, and we're going to give you biased opinions, biased based on our experiences here. Some of it's going to be good, some of it's going to be maybe not so good. But the bottom line is, it's been 3 years and we're still here, and we're really enjoying virtually every day that we are here. Okay, very good. How we're doing it, the strategy that we employed to move here. One of the first things that we did outside of doing our basic research was to go ahead and come to Costa Rica. We came here twice. We came in here September of '08 and then again January of '09, spending several weeks at a time touring the country, taking organized tours. Now, not doing touristy type tours. We didn't come here to go zip lining and fishing and all kinds of cool things, but we went ahead and we worked with people who were very, very knowledgeable about the areas to go ahead and sit down and meet with them and find out what life was really going to be like here in Costa Rica. Of the two due diligence trips that we did, we met with organizations such as ARCR, which I think somebody said something about it earlier, the Association for Residents of Costa Rica. It was at this time where we met with that organization who's designed to help potential existing expats and potential expats in what it's going to be to integrate your life into this country. We also met with an international moving company. We read some information about what it was like to move here and what it was like to move your personal goods, but we spent almost 2 hours with this person talking, getting a very, very clear understanding of what some of the benefits would be to bring certain things here, to leave certain things at home, sell things off, etc. And this was a huge, huge help to us. We also met with an immigration attorney, again, to go ahead and sit down for a while to go ahead and get an in-depth knowledge of what was going to be necessary for us to go ahead and eventually bite the bullet and make the move. And while we were also here, we decided, what the heck, let's go ahead, we got our paperwork, let's get a Costa Rican driver's license. It turns out to be a pretty safe, pretty smart investment, I would say, even if you're going to be here as a tourist, because should something happen where you know, one of the transitos or something pull you over and things aren't looking too good, it's great to whip out a Costa Rican driver's license.
And to tell you, he did it on the way here. He got stopped. Now, we've been in country 3 years. He's been pulled over now 11 times.
Only one ticket.
One ticket, he's right. This man, he was going 90 in a 60.
Wait, 90 kilometers an hour in a 60. 60 is like 48 miles an hour, so I really wasn't going that fast. But I had some great Jethro Tull music playing on the stereo, and I wasn't paying attention. I was just cruising along.
And he pleaded his way. Now, his Spanish is getting so much better, but he pleaded, and the nice gentleman let us go. So I think learning some Spanish helped a lot.
Okay. It was our turn. It was our time right now to go ahead and kind of close up shop in North Carolina. We made the decision to come here. October of 2008, we put our house up on the market, and we were so very thankful to have been able to sell that house by July of that next year. So for us, it worked out pretty good. But in that time, we decided to go ahead and sell off a lot of the things that we had really come to love. Our beautiful living room set, dining room set, pool table. But the cool thing was, all the money that we got for selling those big ticket items that wouldn't have done us any good here in Costa Rica whatsoever paid for the container to bring all of our stuff here. So we pretty well self-funded that entire exercise. On March 31st, 2009, we went ahead and took 9 suitcases, drove down to Atlanta, Georgia, so we can get a nice direct flight to Costa Rica instead of having to change planes. And we flew into this airport, into San Jose Airport. The waiting for us was our brand new used car that we had purchased online through a service here in Costa Rica, who was able to go ahead and show us different samples of cars, vetted the car for us, and even picked us up at the airport in our car. So this is the weird thing, man, having to buy a car, sight unseen, only through pictures, and, you know, putting down about $15,000, wire transfer back and forth, and by golly, the car was exactly what we had ordered, and it works exactly the way they said it would.
It's not a 350Z, but it's pretty cute. And it does well on these roads.
Once we got in our car, we went ahead and we started heading off to, we headed west out to the town of San Ramon, where on our second due diligence trip, we were able to go ahead and nail down a home rental for ourselves. In this case, back in January, we found ourselves a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a spectacular view over a valley. It was exactly what we wanted. We paid $500 a month for the house. Electricity was a little bit shocking to us. Here's a house without air conditioning, propane for cooking, and we're still paying between $180 and $220 a month in electricity. I blame it on the fact that I've got too many TVs or too many computers going at one time, but that was still, it's not what I read on the internet. On the internet, it said I was going to pay between $60 and $70 a month electricity, and meanwhile, I'm starting to go ahead and pay all of this extra money. So I was a little uncertain about how much all this was going to work. But how did we find this house? We found this house through networking. We found it because during our due diligence trips, we had met people. We had looked around. We had found individuals within the area and began networking with them. And let me see. I'm getting a little bit off track here.
I'm supposed to talk about networking.
You were supposed to talk about it. I'm sorry. It's Fran's turn.
God, he's taken my thunder away. As Andy said earlier, I think networking is like one of the #1 things. If it wasn't for networking, we would have never found the house in San Ramon that we stayed a year. If it wasn't for networking, I wouldn't have found my ladies group, which Dan thinks is hysterical, called Stitch and Bitch. That's honest. I'm not lying here. It was a ladies group that met every Thursday at a cafe. We sat there, some stitch, some bitch, and talked and this. You know, I found someone to do my hair, which obviously I'm not doing anymore. I found a good doctor, a good vet. It's just through networking, and even the home we're in right now at the beach was all through networking. So I think if you take anything away from this is networking is key. Make sure you meet all these people here, exchange email addresses. You'll be amazed at how much you all have in common and how you can help each other. So I talk better than you on networking.
You did. Once we moved into our new rental home, we were tracking 100% of our expenses. Every single penny that we had that was coming out of our pockets, we had gone ahead and tracked on this homemade Excel spreadsheet. We found out that we were spending somewhere between $2,200 and $2,500 a month to go ahead and live in Costa Rica, as opposed to the $6,000 we were spending back in North Carolina. But what's important right now is we were beginning to experience life as residents and not as tourists. And there's a definite different mindset that everybody needs to go ahead and clearly understand about that. During the time there, we were learning about the weather, the building codes, where to shop, where not to shop. But after about 10 months of living in this absolutely beautiful place, we learned real quickly that it wasn't so absolutely beautiful. Yes, we did find the place during the dry season when there was no rain in sight. But after being there 10 months, guess what? We learned that we were living at the edge of a cloud forest. And what the heck is a cloud forest? At the end of this Los Angeles cloud forest, we were finding ourselves inundated day in and day out with rain, fog, heavy winds. And it got to the point where, yes, we were really turned on by the beauty initially, but things changed. But the great news is we were renting. We were renting, and we decided at that point in time it was time to go ahead and move. So we did what we said we wouldn't do. And that's because all the research that we initially did said, nah, you don't want to go to the beach. All the research proved us wrong because we did move to the beach, and now we're having a great old time.
My turn?
Your turn.
Oh, okay.
You're it.
A lot of people asked us in San Ramon, why are you moving to the beach? You're crazy. It is so hot there. And it is hot there. I'm not going to lie. It's not, you know, it's warm. But we grew up in South Florida, and I told them we're moving because we can. We did not buy a home. We're not buyers. Our strategy is not to buy. Maybe one day we'll do what we said we're not going to do and end up buying. But for right now, we just want to try different areas. I had a friend who asked us, who lives at the beach, who I met through networking, who asked us to come out and do a dog show, because we love to do videos. And would you come out and videotape our dog show? So we went out. We had a blast. We grew up in Miami. Andy and I are both ex-surfers, it's odd to say, many, many years ago. Now we can't even get up on a surfboard, so now we boogie board instead. So we said, well, let's talk to people and find out how much it really costs to live at the beach. It is more expensive. We live in Guanacaste, which we love, and I think we found our piece of paradise there, and maybe one day we'll buy. But what we like about it is it's very dry. I love the beach. Every day I'm at the beach with the dogs, and we said what we weren't going to do. We turned around and got a truck for $400, 2 guys, moved us to Guanacaste, and we're very happy there. And we could only do that because we decided to be renters and not buyers. If we bought, we'd be stuck in the clouds until we could sell it. So our strategy right now is to just rent, try different areas. We have a beautiful, beautiful, probably too nice, Gringo home, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, swimming pool, fenced yard for our 2 dogs. It's $1,000 a month, and we are a 5-minute walk to the beach. So I don't think we could have that in the States. Okay, your turn.
What's in the future? I don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't really know what's going to happen. But all we can do is establish a plan, work that plan, and hope that we've done everything right. Either our research so far has been absolutely rock solid and fantastic, or we've been luckier than we really deserve to be, or maybe it's been a combination of both. But we found out that our decision to come here, for us, has been the right one. We've known quite a few people who have come here and who have since turned around and said, no, it wasn't quite right for me. And in fact, one statistic I'm going to go ahead and hit you with is that over 50% of all the people who move here wind up moving home within the first 18 months of moving here. Now, that's a statistic that cannot be backed up by any official governmental agency, but it's numbers that I have gotten talking to international movers who have moved people over here and who within the first 18 to 24 months or so have moved many of these people back. And the numbers that I'm getting from them is it's roughly between 40 to 50%. And all that I can attribute it to, and I've talked to quite a few of these folks that have gone home, they've not done their research. They have come over here ill-prepared. They've come over here without proper financial backing, without enough coins in their pocket. They've come over here with too much dependency on family back home. And all of a sudden, this stuff starts to implode on you. And you've got to be in the right mindset to be able to handle that. And it's a tough thing. It is extremely tough. So all I can say is that you need to really do your research, but don't come here with the impression of saying, I'm going to live in Costa Rica for the rest of our lives, because that may not be true. In our case, we came here with a decision to live here until we are of Medicare age. At that point, we're going to make a decision. We're going to reevaluate where we're at. We're going to keep our fingers crossed and see if Medicare is still going to be around in a couple of years. We don't. That's just it. We really don't know. So the proof is in the pudding right now. After being here about 3 years, we're very content. I think we're here for the long haul, and like Fran just said, where we're living right now appeals to us. That part of the country, while we may not stay in our same house forever that we're renting, we may very well stay in that part of the country. But after being here 2 years, this is what we looked like right before we came here in August of '08, and this is kind of what we looked like back in April of 2010. Costa Rica is really doing well by us. We are feeling better. We are living better. We've lost weight. We're at the beach almost every day, and getting asked to speak to groups like you and just have a kick-ass time. It's really, really wonderful.
But the important question is, if we were 65 right now, would we go back home? And what's the answer?
No.
No way.
No way.
We're having too much fun.
We are healthy. Our health care is taken care of right now. When we have to go see a doctor, we're paying for it out of pocket if we don't want to go through the national health care system. And yes, we are paying a fraction. Our health care costs are a fraction of what they would have been back in the States. And life really is working out well for us. And occasionally we get to go back to the States and visit friends and family, which is enough. I just got back from 30 days back in the States, and I am so glad to be back over here.
Go ahead.
But I do miss the highways. I do miss the U.S. highways.
Well, and also tell them, because we keep a very accurate spreadsheet. I mean, really anal. How much have we spent this year in health care?
This year alone, since January 1st, I just looked at it before coming up here, we were right around, I think, about $3,700. And that included $2,700 worth of dental. So, I mean, we would have been underwater back in the States. So, it was good for us. So, with that said, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions now or over in the bar. And
Andy and Fran, ladies and gentlemen.